Anti-Afro Svengalis, I thought it was imperative for me to come on here to reinforce a very important right. Contact your local police and contact the FBI Internet Complaint Center if you experience any type of threats on YouTube. Obviously, off YouTube, contact the authorities. If someone has engaged in inappropriate conduct, whether it's physically or verbally, regarding your child, also contact the International Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Never buy into this bullshit code that you're supposed to remain silent in the face of any sort of threats or harassment. Use these resources without hesitation. Shout out to Breaking the Culture of Silence for all that you do to advocate for yourself, for your family, and those who are less fortunate. Something that Breaking the Culture of Silence has been doing before she met me. I want to let you in on a little secret. You may not know, but I'll tell you. Same applies. Rev G, Liz Martin, Professor Cupcake. I can keep going on. Of course, I'm being sarcastic. Advocating for self and the less fortunate and the vulnerable and the maligned and the disenfranchised is something that we've been doing long before we came to know each other. And here's something else. Those who initiated these types of attacks targeting protected class/groups, this includes threats of violence, this includes targeting children. It's not their first time at the rodeo either. You really believe the first time they ever said these things associated with these themes and threatening violence and targeting children is when they came to YouTube? Well, you can believe it if you want. I don't believe that. We're all creatures of habit. Whether we are actually under attack or we feel we're under attack, we fall back on what's familiar to us. Who's going to argue with that? It can't be argued, people. That is what we do. We are creatures of habit. Yes, there are exceptions when you decide, okay, I'm gonna do this for this situation. By and large, we are going to react how we typically react. And I'm going to say something about Carrie Ann's parents. I don't know her parents, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I refuse to believe that her parents never told her they are looking for anything they can get on you based on who you are to get you up out of wherever you are. I don't believe her parents said the civil rights movement was passed so we can say what we want and act like we can just walk around here and nothing's going to happen based on what we say. I do not believe that. Every black parent has told their children, mother and father have told them, you open up your mouth and say things you shouldn't be saying, they're going to come down on you harder because they're already expecting the worst. Who hasn't been told this by our black parents in one form or another? I refuse. I challenge anybody to come up here and tell me their parents never told them that. Now, what Carrie Ann decided to do, that's her decision. The parents can't make you obey them. They can't make you do what they say, especially as an adult. You make your own decisions. This comes down to what Carrie Ann decided to do. So when you talk about that statement of they want her to lose her job, or some people say, I don't want anyone to lose their job. The job is Carrie Ann's to protect. It's not anyone else's to protect. Carrie Ann needs to hold herself responsible for protecting her own job. What is the purpose of having regulations and policies if no one is ever to access them in the event of suspected wrongdoing? Go ahead and tell the school district that they're wrong for taking the action that they're taking about Carrie. Carrie Ann is not walking around that campus, because if she was, people would have taken photos of her. We know that. Carrie Ann is not working at that school as we speak. Suspension is in order, and it should be. There are certain things you just don't say when you have a position such as a teacher, as a therapist. This does not mean that you can't have free speech. And let me also say this. Her political affiliations as she has described them is not the issue. She says she's a communist. You have a right to have a political view and associate with a political party as a civilian. So she can't be penalized for that. That is not even the issue. Her protected group attacks and her specific statements about kids. It doesn't matter that she was talking about somebody else's kids. People are trying to sit here and individualize the situation. Think about all those white folks that people want fired because they got into a fight with one other black person and start calling them all out of their names with racial insults. They're only talking to that one black person, but guess what? They violated code of conduct and they were terminated. People want to try to make it something that it isn't. What it is Carrie Ann coming onto YouTube and deciding she can say and do what she wanted because she was dealing with an all black space or almost an all black space. Carrie Ann's responsible for her own words. There isn't an ounce of guilt that anybody should be shouldering. Now, if you want to shoulder guilt, go right ahead and shoulder all the guilt. You can take on the burdens. You can take the responsibility for Carrie Ann's behavior. Go for it. Fact of the matter is, those who sat in Carrie Ann's demon chat gassed her up because they had angst with other people. Well, Carrie Ann allowed it to happen. And as for Photon being a jerk finally paid off. Thank you very much for assisting in this process. You didn't care what happened to Carrie Ann and never did. And I frankly don't give a hoot about that. But you thought you were going to continue to ride with this and be able to get all this play. And you didn't even think about what would happen to Carrie Ann. But again, thank you. Being a jerk, being low down and dirty does have its benefits because Carrie Ann should not be providing any services to any schools. So let's extend this beyond Carrie Ann potentially, because nothing has been, quote, confirmed as final yet. Carrie Ann losing her job is something that needs to happen. Not only that, her credentials need to be revoked. This is not an incident where she made one statement. This is a pattern of behavior that's gone on for almost 3 years. She said what she said for 3 years. Double, triple, quadruple down on her statements. Where the heck is the mitigation? She initiated these conflicts with people. Specific to me, let me tell you, with me, she came over to the page and didn't like the fact that I wouldn't rehash a situation that I already dealt with by video. I think I did at least 2 videos on the topic. She wanted more information. She wanted me to explain this. I don't have to explain anything to Carrie Ann. She was rude and she was brash, so I booted her from the channel. She wasn't here for that long, and she went off on this 30-day rampage, or nearly 30-day rampage, with all these derogatory statements. And here is the thing that Carrie Ann never understood, that she never impacted me personally. When she made these statements, she was impacting those that she was working with. I didn't believe she was a teacher at first. I believe she may have been working with children, and that was my thought. Gee, she's working with kids and she's making these statements, calling me all kinds of crazy. Doesn't bother me when you say that, Carrie Ann. I thought about the kids that she was working with. And again, I didn't at first think she was a teacher, but I believe she may have been working with kids. It has nothing to do with me, because children that she was working with, if she's working with a large group of kids, because she wasn't going to be working with just one kid, the odds are she's going to encounter some youth under the age of 18 that have mental health issues. Their family members may have mental health issues. So she's talking about them. She's not ridiculing me. She never got that. Carrie Ann never got it, that her statements about me meant nothing. Her statements about intending to have black men locked up for crimes against children that she has no evidence that they committed, that was the worst thing she ever did. And I knew right then and there that I was not going to stop until Carrie Ann has her credentials revoked. She's up here saying she wants false accusations against black men to be taken seriously to the point where they could be questioned, they could lose their liberty. You don't deserve to have any public servant position if you are prepared to bear false witness. And then talking about people's children in a manner in which no adult should be referring to children. Why? Because she's mad at their parent. So she's going to do what? She's mad at a parent where she works, and she's going to take it out on the kid. This is very dangerous behavior. And her willingness to de-exist black men with firearms. This is a dangerous person who shouldn't be around kids for any amount of time. It's a scary thought for those parents who had no idea this was going on, or even those parents who realized there were issues with Carrie Ann, obviously felt intimidated to the point they didn't go to the principal. And that's a reality. Pure and simple. I bet Carrie Ann sized up those parents who she knew she could get away with doing what she wanted. And now that breaking the culture of silence has come out front and center, this has given people a voice who otherwise felt they didn't have a choice. This happens every day. And it's a shame because the vast majority of teachers care about these children as if they were their own children. Someone mentioned something about teachers don't have kids, something about they wouldn't be impacted. Are you serious? Because the teacher doesn't have children, that means that that teacher can't care about those children as if they were family? That's not my perception of teachers. The vast majority of the teachers care. But you have the few like Carrie Ann who engage in this type of conduct, and they use teaching as a power trip, putting the children's emails up on the screen to dissuade them from addressing issues. And by the way, what the hell is a student doing communicating directly with the teacher anyway? Those communications should only be with the parents. It's ridiculous. She got people that she knew wouldn't report her. She conducted herself in that classroom with some of those students just as she does here on YouTube, thinking she can control people with insults. She just dug her own grave, gave us her name. No public servant is confidential and private with respect to their job. You have a right to file complaints. Doesn't matter if someone likes it or not. You have a right to let those know that you think there's an issue and it needs to be addressed. Nobody can come up here and tell somebody you're wrong for filing a complaint. Well, yeah, you can say it. You can actually formulate the words, just like Carrie Ann formulated all of those words over a period of 2+ years. What did it get Carrie Ann? Short-term relief and long-term destruction. It's like drugs or any dependency. Oh, yes, this feels good now, but then you get in a car and hit somebody, or you incur other catastrophic consequences to self and others for that short-term relief. There is no difference here. And let me tell you why I say this about Carrie Ann. This was so important to Carrie Ann. She was so dependent on being able to come to YouTube and engage in this outrageously abusive, horrendously discriminatory, unlawful code of conduct violating behavior, that she wished death upon those who she perceived were standing in her way. And I was one of those people. Again, Carrie Ann making that statement doesn't impact me. We want to think about the impact on those she was serving. She doesn't like what a parent says. She doesn't like what a student says. Someone happens to mention it to someone else or even complain to the principal. You want to tell me she never got a complaint to the principal? I don't believe that. But again, all complaints aren't so devastating and catastrophic that somebody needs to be yanked out of the classroom. But say a minor complaint or someone objecting, what do you think she would want for them? If she's doing this here in the YouTube streets, where she spends less time because she's teaching in the classroom most of the day, you mean to tell me she's not going to formulate those same thoughts towards students and parents and the principal? Well, she talks shit about the principal. Did you catch that? I got that in a live stream. She have no respect for this black man who has an EDD, a doctorate degree of higher education. She had no respect for him either, and let a white teacher trash him. She came on and talked about what kind of a, please people, you mean to tell me that Carrie Ann is in good stead, that what she did was upstanding, appropriate, righteous, and well within her rights. Well, let me tell you this. As far as the U.S. Constitution, opening up her mouth and moving it around, okay, to some degree, but not according to the code of conduct that has been ratified by the school district, not according to non discriminatory requirements that must be reinforced in public schools. As a federal regulations. She has a very small slither of free speech without consequences, and this certainly is not the circumstance with respect to how she conducted herself on YouTube and how the school district views this situation. We're not going to forget about the parents and the students. They matter as well. They are the priority, not Carrie Ann. If Carrie Ann thought this was so damn important to hold on to her job, she wouldn't have conducted herself in the manner that she did. She continued to escalate, and her behavior became very much out of control, continued to spiral, feeling that she could say and do what she wanted. But we actually knew that was a lie because she started pulling down videos, I'd say about 7 months ago. She was pulling videos down. She purged her first channel. We got videos from that channel. So anyone who wants to try to claim Carrie Ann was attacked, we have the videos from her first channel. This is a person who shouldn't be working around any vulnerable population. Have your opinion. This is my opinion. I'm going to assert it. I am going to assert my opinion whenever I want to assert my opinion. The perilous process of coming online and trying to make yourself appear to be more important than other people based on credentials and a degree and a license and a certificate is foolish behavior, something I never even considered. It doesn't make any difference to me what anybody says about me professionally. They don't have any knowledge. They're just trying to get me to react like Carrie Ann, which you'll never do. It doesn't matter what you say. I don't owe explanations to enemies. I don't have to explain anything. If I choose to explain something, I explain it. Other than that, say and think what you want. It's of no consequence. Many people have tried to take AAS down with lies. Dempsey is on his 11th round of paying fools to see what? To see if they can perpetrate bullshit lies upon me and have me penalized for something that doesn't even exist. That will never happen. Dempsey is still smarting from the Catherine Brown lawsuit, which he funded. He has funded failure over and over again, just like Carrie Ann brokered in failure. And look what happened. It was never going to work for her here. It was always going to be found out. She allowed herself to be identified. It's desperation. Carrie Ann did what she did delibereately and doubled down, quadruple on her statements over 3 years. There is no mitigation. I reemphasize the only just outcome is thinking about the parents and the students and the general public. Anyone like Carrie Ann doesn't deserve to have a teaching credential, period, and certainly should not ever be allowed to work around children. Get another job. There are tons of jobs she can get. None of them should be as a public servant. And I will reemphasize that over and over again as often as I please. Again, it is not my responsibility for Carrie Ann's job. It's Carrie Ann's responsibility. If it was her job that she considered to be so important, she would have protected it. People, you know I have more coming your way. In the meantime, you know the drill. Buyer beware.